Hello everyone, welcome to the first Steve MWAS review. Today I will be reviewing Paper Mario, the Origami King. I just recently beat this game the other day, and I have a lot of opinions on it. First off, I really wanted to like this game. I gave it a chance, and although there are a lot of things that this game does right, there's also a lot of things this game does wrong. Alright, well let's get started. Just to start off, we have the combat system, which is a ring-based system, puzzle-based. It's, on paper, no pun intended, I thought it was a lot of fun at first. After about 2 to 4 hours of exposure with the gameplay, I just started dreading it. Every fight felt the same to me, and that's just a real shame. Like, you have to solve the puzzle in a specific way that the game wants you to solve it, which I found kind of boring and less personalized. I really wish there was a part where I could just line up the enemies in any direction I want and then use a variety of cool attacks to take the enemies down. Like for example, you have to take them down either in a straight line or in a group of 4. Why can't I take them down in like an X or in 2 diagonals? I have like a hammer wave that takes down multiple enemies. That would be fun, just personalize the puzzles, like every battle's unique. And that leads me up to my next point, the weapons. There's such a lack of variety with these. You literally only have jump, hammer, and a couple items like fire flower and tail, but they all basically play the same. The input commands are the exact same, which isn't very fun, if I'm being honest. It's just, it gets redundant so fast, and without the proper RPG mechanics, it just isn't as fun or as rewarding. So your best option is to usually just run away. And your only reward is just coins, which the game already supplies you so many by just playing the game, filling up the little holes and all that good stuff. Because, you know, paper mache Mario enemies are eating the world and you gotta fill it back up. Very similar to the color splash mechanic, which I never played, but I saw enough gameplay of it to realize that it was just Sticker Star 2, which I really didn't like. Also, there's the boss battles. I think it's important to note those are a little different. Instead of just doing the proper lineup mechanic, you are trying to get to the middle in one turn. But you got to activate all these switches, hit these arrows, in order to beat the boss, which is also a puzzle. And at first, I really liked this mechanic. Like, my favorite boss was the rubber band boss. But after doing it so many times, it gets so tedious and frustrating trying to figure out that puzzle. Like, some bosses took me like 20 minutes just to start doing damage to them. It's just so slow and boring. At least to me. I definitely think if you're a big fan of puzzles, this game will be like a lot of fun for you. Like, it's not a bad game. But let's go into what I liked about this game. The visuals were spectacular. The visuals were great. Also, the music is another thing to praise. The music is so good. If you don't want to play the game, that's understandable, but please give this soundtrack a listen at some point. It's just, every song is really good. Except for a few. A few are a little too redundant, but for the most part, I really enjoyed the music. Next, I'm going to talk about the characters. I'm sure everyone here has heard that for some reason the development team's not allowed to use new characters aside from a few, like Olivia and Ollie. But they're just stuck with generic Goomba, Koopa, Shy Guy, and they can't really do much with them other than put maybe like a little hat on them, which isn't what makes the game, which doesn't make the game super appealing. It's not like the first 3 where you actually get like new characters and a story to care about, which I just don't understand to this day why they do that, why that limitation is there. Maybe it's Tanabe. I hear it might be someone higher up, but whoever it is, they really need to change that because that's really holding back the series. And just to clarify, I saw characters in this game that looked kind of original. Looked like they wanted to do like super fun designs, but they ended up making them kind of generic. For example, in this game, you're going to find something called Velementals, and the Velementals I enjoyed. But none of these characters, other than the turtle, are like Mario characters. You get like Origami Turtle, Origami Dragon, Origami Polar Bear. There's literally a boss that looks straight up like Moltres. And that's just like weird. Like, look it up. Fire Velemental. It looks eerily like Moltres. Like, they just copy and pasted the design. And within these little Velemental temples, you're going to see, like, a statue with, like, an original design that you're never going to see in another Mario. And for the most part, I liked these designs. It really feels like the developers wanted to make original characters, and you can really tell. And their way of combating that was just by writing unique dialogue for every Toad to make them more personable, which I think they did a good job with. The dialogue was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun voice acting during my stream with all that dialogue. But I still think if these characters had an original design, it'd be great. Another good example of that would be like the bosses. Spoiler alert. The main bosses in this game, other than the Elementals, are just office supplies. You've probably seen them. It's like colored pencils, tape, scissors. It's just not great. But they really tried to convey a lot of personality with them through dialogue, but it doesn't really work because their personality is not conveyed through visuals, which I think would really have made them more enjoyable. Like, if they were allowed to make new characters, I could have seen it. Like, the colored pencils could have been like a spiny shell Koopa with the spikes being colored pencils. Or the stapler boss could have been a chain chomp with staplers for his teeth. They could have had so much fun designing these characters if they really wanted to stick with the overall paper aesthetic of this game. Now, here are some nitpicks I have. I did not like how the characters were self-aware. One of the reasons I loved the first 3 games, especially Thousand Year Door, is because the characters were not self-aware that they were made of paper. They were definitely made of paper in the second one, but whenever Mario would turn into like a paper airplane or a boat in that game, it was referred to as a curse. And I thought that was really charming and just fun and enjoyable. This game, every character knows they're made of paper. Everyone can be shredded, hole punched, cut in half with scissors. It's there. That's what it is. And although that can be charming in this game, overall, I kind of prefer if they went back to the old days where they weren't aware that they were made of paper. Just have more creative fun with that. Another nitpick I have is Mario. He doesn't talk. He doesn't say any iconic voice lines like the Wahoo or the Yahoo. But every other Mario character in this game have voice lines like Bowser, Luigi. Even the Toads in Shy Guys have little voice lines. I just don't understand why Mario has to be a mute after all these years. Another thing is Luigi. In this game, Luigi, all he does is he's looking for keys the entire game. It's kind of charming because they talked about finding a key at the beginning of the game, but for Luigi, it's just kind of odd. I would love to see like Luigi do a lot of other cool things in this game, like be a partner and stuff, but overall, Luigi's role in this game was alright. Now, that's about all I got for nitpicking. Some other positive things I can think about for this game is that it tries to do a variety of different gameplay mechanics. Like you're playing Ninja Star Game, or you're shooting like paper airplanes down. There's just a lot of variety of mini games. They're enjoyable. They're fine. It's kind of nice that they're there. There's even like a mechanic where you can go dig for buried treasure in the desert, or underwater treasure chest hunting. There's definitely some cool little side quests you can delve into if you're interested in that kind of thing. But overall, I think the game does fail with the core gameplay mechanic. Another thing I just thought of was when you're moving the puzzle pieces around. You have 2 directions. You can just cycle the enemies around, or you can slide them back. And when you want to circle the enemies, you can't move back and forth. You have to move forwards and then all around. You got to circle back around. You can't go back. So if you mess up, you got to start that all over, which is a little frustrating. Which I guess leads into my next point. Some poor cases of programming in this game. The dialogue. You cannot fast forward through the dialogue. In the older Paper Mario games, you could hold down the B button and you can just skip dialogue or read really fast. So you have to go through it very slowly each time. And this was apparent to me almost immediately when I was going through the tutorials with Olivia, one of the characters in the game. She just will talk your head off at the beginning of the game telling you how to play this game. And it's just mind-boggling to me. Just why there's no skip option. I just don't know why there isn't a skip option. And that's not like the only case of poor programming. Earlier I mentioned a little Ninja Star game. You have to play this to progress the game, but you have to play it on a specific difficulty in order to claim the reward that you need to progress the game. And when I first did it, I played it on the hardest difficulty, did it first try, and I got a different reward. It would have been nice if the game rewarded me with both the collectible and the little story item to progress. So there's a lot of like really bad pieces of programming into this game that I really wish they took the extra time to fix, but it is what it is. Now, finally, I would say I have to talk about the partner mechanic. The partner mechanic's not very good. The characters are just basically glue. They just stick to you per little chapter or part in the game. They have some witty dialogue that keep you entertained, but for the most part, these characters don't do anything. They randomly attack. You have no way of controlling them, which is boring. It defeats the purpose of having partners. Part of the fun from Thousand Year Door in the original was that you can use these partners to attack your enemies, strategize, and upgrade them. And they were just partners. They just helped you on your journey. That was a lot of fun. These characters, they aren't exactly one-dimensional, well, most of them, but they aren't helpful in battle that much. Especially since it's RNG, sometimes they can just completely whiff an attack, which isn't helpful at all. But again, the writing for the characters are pretty good, except for Captain Teode. I remember seeing on Twitter people raving about this character, saying he's like the best character in the game, when he was really just a subpar character, at least in my experience. I don't know if there's like a side quest with this character, I didn't bother looking, but overall, for the main story, he's useless. He's not even a partner in the game. He just sails your boat around and fills out a sea chart as if he's the only character in the Mario universe that can do that. He's just not an enjoyable character. Well, I mean, he's got some fun dialogue, I guess. He's not like the worst character in the world, but he's overall, out of all the partner characters, he was the worst. And they did try, I can definitely tell they tried to implement some sort of story within their limitations. Like, another spoiler alert is that Bobby, the Bob-omb, he blows himself up to save Olivia, and it's very dark because it's actually like a suicide bombing just to save a friend. It's odd, but I found it interesting. It made the story a little more engageable, and I was excited to play the game again. Unfortunately, that feeling didn't last very long. And then another point I want to go into are the Toads. I know that they really like the Toads in this game for whatever reason. That's the only like Mario character they ever want to see nowadays, and they try to customize them with little bits of clothing, but at the end of the day, they don't stand out. Like, here's another spoiler. The person who crafted the Origami characters was just a green toad with an apron on. If you were to compare him with any other toad through silhouette, he will look the same. If the team was just allowed to draw this toad with like a mustache or another hat, maybe being a little taller, that would have been great. That would have been awesome. It would have been very appealing. But no, you gotta stick with these generic designs. And I really do think the team is pissed off with like whoever it is, Tanabe, whatever higher up is telling them to make generic Mario characters. Because at the beginning of the game, Peach says, do you want to get rid of all the Toads? And at first I was like, okay, yeah, that's just like the story. That's just the plot. This guy just hates the Toads. But at the end of the game, one last spoiler. Well, two more spoilers after this. At the end of the game, Ollie, the main villain, says he hates Toads because the main Toad scribbled on him. And that all Toads look the same, which is a huge complaint from the Paper Mario community. Which I think is a dumb plot device, but I also think is a cry to help from the developers saying, please let us be creative again. Let us create a fun story, fun characters. We really want to make like the older Paper Marios again. At least that's just me. Because everyone complains about how the new Paper Mario games are just Toads. And they're definitely self-aware about that. And I do want to say this too. The final boss fight was kind of bad. I sort of liked the first phase of it because one more spoiler. Ollie transforms into all of elemental characters, but they put a little more of an interesting design to them. So it's kind of like another original character, and I thought that was appealing. Now, the match was really slow, which I didn't like, but overall that part wasn't bad. The other parts after it are pretty bad. I appreciate them trying to do new things to keep the game exciting till the very end, but it was just tedious. There's a part where Bowser transforms into an Origami Bowser, which is really cool. The transformations for the animations are really nice. And, but what you have to do is you have to just run around, find the magic origami hands, which is only used through boss gameplay, to try and slap the ground very hard in a kind of a tedious manner. And then the final boss fight, the final phase with Ollie involves you going around and matching this last puzzle, but you're timed. And dodging the action commands are kind of fun, but solving the puzzle is just super frustrating to me. And I'll admit, tried to beat it, but I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was just so tired of the game at that point, and I just wanted to finish it, so I just looked up the ending online. It was the final boss. That's why I still played the bulk of this game, like pretty much 99% of this game. so I think it's fine. Last positive thing I want to say is that I really did like the animations of this game. They were very charming. I do kind of miss the old Flash-based animations from Thousand Year Door, but this game's art style, it grew on me, and I really enjoyed this. Another mechanic I really enjoyed in this game were the paper Macho battles. These worked completely differently. These were like overworld battles. This turned into like an action 3D platformer type of game. And I really liked that. Instead of just doing the turn-based combat, you just run around, you attack the Goombas or the Shy Guy's weak point, and then you just keep punishing them until you beat them. It's simple, but I really enjoyed that part. And the bosses with this mechanic were fun. There's a boss where you fight Gooper Blooper, and that one was pretty fun. It was simple, it wasn't hard, but it was enjoyable. If they ever make a Paper Mario game like this in the future, I'd be okay with that, as long as they refine the mechanics and add like a proper progression system. Alright, now time for the final part. The score. I'm going to give this game a 5.5 out of 10. Again, the visuals are great, the music's great, animations are great, and they try to throw in a lot of cool little mini gameplay mechanics into this game, but overall the core gameplay mechanic is just slow and boring. It can be often frustrating. The lack of RPG elements just kind of make it pointless, even though it feels like an RPG. It's just, it's a step in the right direction, but overall I think that's what I'd give this game. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope to do more of these in the future. Bye.